Of course, my phone's gonna fall right before we do that. Hello, everybody. Hold on, well, my phone fell. We know we don't have the regular camera up today, which is great news. They're actually sending me a new camera, even though breaking the camera was my fault anyway, but that's fine. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the HR Blueprint. I can't wait to introduce you to two of my favorite Adrianas. We've got Adriana DiCarlo, the tech recruiter, and we've got Adriana Garza, the HR leader. And we're so excited to have you both here.
Excited to join.
Happy to be here.
I know it's the first live for some of us, so we're a little nervous, but that's okay. I'm a pro. I got this. Don't worry about it. So let me just refresh LinkedIn here and make sure that we are good to go there. Join. This is always the fun part. All right. It says it's starting soon. We're having trouble streaming on LinkedIn. Unideal. Hold on one second, guys.
Okay.
The good news is LinkedIn doesn't allow. Ugh. Okay, hold on. Don't you love this? Adriana Garza, while we are doing this, just hang tight for 2 seconds. I don't know why. Stream is scheduled for later. Did we accidentally schedule the stream incorrectly? Hold on. October 21st, 3 p.m. Let me look at this setup. Don't you just love it? Don't you just love technology when it doesn't work? Is just my absolute favorite.
Hey, but it's a way for us to learn. So it's all good.
That is definitely what we need. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what's going on here, but we are going to, it says we're live. Technology. Stream key URL. Let's just see if that, no. Might be an issue on links at LinkedIn's end. But we are live on, just remove this destination from the stream, then re-add it, remove. Okay, recruiters, HR Blueprint, save changes. Okay, let's see if that works. But worst comes to worst, Adriana, we are live on YouTube and Twitter, and I'm sure everybody was having such a great time listening to me say a whole lot of nothing. Let me grab us on YouTube so that way if people want to join there, we can have them there. While I'm doing that, since we are live, Adriana, Miss Garza, would you mind introducing yourself?
Of course. So my name's Adriana Garza. I live in Texas. I have been in the HR field for over 25 years. I have been in many industries, but my main focus has been M&E and then tech startups. Super excited to be here. I have the full range of experience from generalist, talent acquisition, recruiting, talent development, training, talent acquisition, employee relations. So I'm really, really excited about this forum, really excited to meet everybody and to talk to everybody and have a really good, impactful discussion today.
Wonderful. So kind of wanted to understand, Adriana, we, the crypto recruiters and the tech recruiters, we've helped companies hire. Now it's time to help them build. Right? And something that's really critical is HR infrastructure, the legal compliance, really making sure that we're all aligned. So I'd love to understand, why do you believe founders need HR infrastructure earlier than they think? Because a lot of people believe they don't need HR.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a great question. And I think it stems from communication. When a company is just starting out, they're small, they can get their arms around all of the individuals. There's excitement. Communication is free flowing. As soon as you add layers, especially when it's managers, people that are remote, contractors. Communication can tend to break down, right? Game of telephone can sometimes factor in. There's confusion, sometimes disconnection. Without an early infrastructure with HR to kind of just put together a light framework for performance management, employee issues, feedback, roles, leveling, all of that. I think sometimes leaders or founders can find themselves just spending time on those type of issues, right? Building and kind of getting everybody in the right level, getting everybody in the right role, and they find themselves kind of stuck managing the business and not leading it. So when you have an HR partner that can come in and concurrently work on the people aspect, it takes a lot of the pressure off of the founder so that they can focus on building the business.
Absolutely agreed. What do you think is the biggest misconception when it comes to needing HR versus not needing HR?
Yeah, I think sometimes the misconception is that HR adds fluff, right? That we are the individuals that hire and fire, which is not true. In today's market, especially in startups, having a strategic HR partner is critical just because we're able to kind of cover all those areas from a legal and compliance standpoint, payroll and taxes and employee classifications and leaves and harassment and discrimination policies, and just making sure that the company gets off to a good start from the beginning. So I think the misconception is that we don't provide value sometimes, especially early on, where I think it's the reverse, right? I think if you have a strong HR leader that can come in and set up something that makes it very, very easy for employees and leaders to kind of contribute to the workforce and kind of build from what we set up, I think that's your best bet.
I completely agree with you. And Adriana DiCarlo, I'm so sorry, I completely skipped over you. Would you mind doing a quick little intro? Because we haven't met you yet. And I know we've been together for a very long time, but we got to get you live, girl.
Yeah, so there are two Adrianas here. I'm Adriana, the tech recruiter. I'm Chicago based. Emily and I have been working together for about 6 years. And what we noticed is startups are hiring so fast that it's becoming a little chaotic without an HR infrastructure, which is why we decided to partner with Adriana Garza to help offer her services to startups that need some structure amidst the chaos.
That's a very fair point. So I think what we've covered so far is companies think they don't need HR, but it's really one of the most critical aspects when you're starting to build. You want to make sure that you've got systems, you're not reactively hiring, you're not burning out the team, right? And these are all things that HR can put into play. So Adriana Garza, my question for you is, what's your first step? A company, they come to you, they say, Adriana, we don't know if we need HR. We might need HR, but we're not sure. What is your first step here?
The first step is I want to understand kind of what the goal is. What type of hire are you looking at? What do you already have in place? And what is your end goal, right? So just understanding the need, understanding the team and the culture that is trying to be built, and the product. From there, you can back into what is needed. Is it a large organization, or is it going to, the startup going to be more than 20 people initially, or is it going to gradually, scale? And then you can kind of best understand where to focus, especially when it comes to policies, procedures, platforms, compensation philosophies, all of that. I think it's really important to find out from the leader what is most important to them. And what they're trying to solve and kind of maintain throughout the scope of the startup phase. This will give me a better understanding of how I can help and what I can focus on for that particular or organization. And so that I can lean into kind of what I've done in the past to kind of ensure success with whatever the need is.
And you've worked at startups like Store.j and also big companies like Disney and Hulu. I have to ask, that is a variety of experience. You know what I mean? Two very different spectrums. And I love that Store.j was in crypto. Fantastic.
Yes.
But tell me about the biggest difference between, a giant corporation and a startup when it comes to HR.
When it comes to HR, from a labor and employment law standpoint, there's not much difference, right? Unless if you're private, that there's some laws that are not going to be focused or centric to startups. But at the end of the day, EEO laws, payroll laws, benefits, taxes, all of that stuff falls under the umbrella for both small and large organizations. So those are some similarities. The differences are, and they're not bad. Like I said, it's just kind of what you want to focus on as a leader or as an HR professional, if you will. But the biggest difference is with a startup, it gives you an opportunity to build and to be there from the start, to be part of something that you can see growth in, which is always very exciting. With larger organizations, they already have that infrastructure in place. So it's about consistency and making sure that you're fair and consistent and that you are applying the same guidance or advice that you give to one leader to all. And then, of course, if you have to, like, functional areas are also separate as well. They're very different. So you have to kind of put on your hat. If it's a sales role, if it's a marketing role, whatever the case may be, that will maybe tweak the responses. But at the end of the day, it's 100% about setting up that structure so that people feel comfortable in and out of the HR field or related areas, if you will.
And how do you know it's time to bring in HR? You're a startup, you've got, how many employees should you have to bring in HR? What stage of the business does it matter? Should it be day one? What's your advice?
I think, for as soon as you have more than 15, 20 people, you really should come in and have an HR structure, just because I think that's where you start running the risk of that communication breakdown or inconsistencies from a payroll standpoint. If you're paying different in different areas, it can cause issues. So I think once you get into the double digits of team, if you will, headcount, it's really, really important to bring somebody in so that they can start not only building the team and kind of bringing on from a talent acquisition standpoint, but which is where Adriana DeCarlo comes in, but also these processes, right? What does a performance management cycle look like? What can employees expect from an engagement standpoint? Is their feedback being heard? And I think once you get into that double digit numbers, I think you run the risk of people feeling like if you do it, sometimes leaders can overpromise and underdeliver. And I think that's where we get stuck, when there is not somebody that is people centric, that also has that strategic capability to kind of make sure that everything's running smoothly and that both of the needs are being met for the organization.
Adriana, one of the things that really drew me to you was just your energy. You've got this infectious, bubbly, just like incredible energy. Do you think, HR, it's, some people love HR, some people do not love HR, right?
Yeah.
Some people think HR is on their side, some people think HR is not on their side.
Mhm.
What do you think separates you from other HR professionals?
So I always lead with empathy on both sides. And I think I make it my mission to make sure that people know that I am a trusted partner, and that I will not judge, criticize. I'm only going to give the facts. I'm only going to give the best advice that I know based on my experience. HR doesn't have to be bad. We're actually not. We're partners, and we, in my 25 years and more of experience, it's evolved, right? From when I first started out, it was very much so. You go into HR, oh my gosh, be scared, right? Something's going to happen. And to now where, I'm guiding leaders and managers to kind of conduct some of those hard conversations that used to be on HR, because the minute you lean on HR to do the hard work or to kind of make those decisions, then they become less of a resource and more of a person that's making decisions based on somebody's employment. And so as that dial has moved over the years, I think you've started to see many employees and leaders and founders leaning into HR partners that are open, very, very collaborative, communicate well and often, and that have the best interest for everybody in the organization.
I love that. Adriana, I had to mute your mic because there's some feedback, but do you have any questions? Do you want to chime in on anything so far?
I do, yeah. So, Adriana Garza, maybe you could explain a little in the startup world, what's the benefit of a company using you instead of having an on staff HR representative?
That's a great question. I think sometimes there are companies that are in that early stage that really cannot afford a full-time salaried professional, HR professional. And that's where I would come in, because if you can't afford a, 150 to $250,000 salary for an entire year and don't have proven results that you can lean into for that cost, you can bring on somebody like myself that can come in and actually have proven results for less cost and have the same impact. And then you can lean in as you grow and get more cost effective. Then you can start hiring your staff and even lean on me to kind of help develop the staff that you hire from the HR perspective, which I would be happy to do.
We've got a great question from Connor. Thanks for chiming in, Connor. What skills are y'all looking you y'all? That's where my life is. What skills are you all looking for in this space? Do you have any thoughts when it comes to recruiting?
Is
I
that
am mute.
for Rich Adriana?
Oh, either and both.
So
Garza, what do you think?
yes. So I think from a talent acquisition standpoint, it depends on the business, right? It depends on what the product is, what the function is, and then of course what the skill set is. And so, like if it's a tech organization, then you're gonna, and you need an engineering team, right? You're gonna be looking for people that, especially in the crypto space, or in the cloud storage space, if you will, you want to find engineers or individuals that have industry experience, right? And so you would often go in and target those individuals from a skill set standpoint. So to answer your question, I think it's a mixture based on the business need.
So that was a great point that you said there was industry experience. So I want to clarify something, and I'm glad this is recorded so we can edit this again, because this is a really great point. Recruiting firms. Recruiting firms can be your best friend, and they can also be your biggest enemy. So our clients come to us and they say, "Hey, hey, Adri, we need a graphic designer." And then my job and Adriana's job is to go out and find those graphic designers. Now, 9 times out of 10, if our clients are using a recruiting firm, they're looking for the perfect person. Like 10 out of 10 matches the JD, matches the culture. Like it's got to be the perfect fit, right? So if you don't have crypto experience, it may be of your benefit to seek out these jobs on your own. It's not that we don't want to represent you. It's not that we don't want to work with you. Sometimes recruiters will actually close a door for you rather than open it because our clients are looking for such specific experiences. So right now, what I'm looking for is that crypto experience, because that's what our clients are investing into our service to find. And I think that's just pretty much every company at this point, right? The easiest transition is someone that doesn't need ramp up time.
Correct.
I apologize, guys. I just got back from Vegas. I picked up something nasty. At least I won. At least I won. But coming home with this illness is not great. So bear with me. So if you don't have experience in the crypto space or in fintech, tech, TradFi, AI, that's okay as well. You need to, one, expand those skills. Certifications are great, right? Is a certification going to get you the job? No. Is it going to get you a raise? No. But what it is going to do is separate your resume from the crowd. So if I'm looking at two resumes and everybody's got a resume twin, an experience that looks similar, a resume that looks similar, I call them resume twins. So why would someone call resume A first versus resume B if they both have no experience? And usually that's because there's a certification, some sort of class, something that really helps them to stand out from the resume twin. Connor has a follow-up here. Oh, Connor, I'm so glad you're here. I followed different cryptocurrencies for a while and have interest in the industry, but do not have a computer science background. And my assumption is that limits the options that I have. No. Crypto is incredibly encompassing a variety of different experiences. It just depends on the direction that you're going, right? So if you do, I mean, I know 15-year-olds, that's maybe an exaggeration, 18-year-olds that have gotten jobs, right out of high school that don't have computer science degrees. So I think it really depends on what you're looking for. Honestly, I don't think education holds as much weight as it used to, unless you're looking for a very specific type of company. There are
Mhm.
some companies that are still sticklers about it, but I know plenty of organizations that do not require degrees to enter the space. You don't need a degree if you're going to be a marketer, if you're going to be in sales, if you're going to be in data analytics, right? There's a lot of things that you don't need a degree for, so don't let that hold you back. What I would say is passion. Passion pushes us forward. So if you are interested in a topic, you are interested in a job, you've got to be passionate about it, especially in crypto, because crypto requires, oh my God, 3 to 5 hours a day of reading and research just to keep up with the space because it moves so quickly.
Yep.
And if you're passionate about it, you're going to put that effort in. If you're not passionate about it, you're not going to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning researching. Garza, did you have any additional insight there?
No, I think that's spot on. I think especially because the industry is growing, expanding, um, those certifications, experience, knowledge is power.
Yeah. Knowledge is power. And that's what companies are looking for. I can't tell you how many people, like I've had clients hire people that have no experience and are
Yep.
just a culture fit and they believe in them. We just helped this. I can't tell you what they're doing because they're in stealth, but they just hired someone with 2 years of experience in product management, no experience in crypto, but they love this guy because of how excited he was and passionate and knowledgeable and all this work he did on the side. So don't let the lack of a degree in computer science or lack of a degree in general get in your way. It's not, no one cares about most people don't care about your education, they care about your potential, and that's what companies that we work with are considering when they're hiring is
Mhm.
potential, because it's not just about what you can do now. How are you going to shape the organization over the next 5 to 10 years? You guys know what I mean?
Yep.
Beautiful. So let me just look here. Adriana, the tech recruiter, did such a great job taking all these notes that I have not paid any attention to. So thank you so much.
Emily, I do have another question for Adriana Garza. We're curious, how does having an HR consultant like you help set the tone for company culture?
That's a great question. First and foremost, when founders come into the space, a lot of times there's a family kind of culture because it's small. But once you double in size, the train can start rolling very quickly out of the station if you're not careful. So it's very important as an HR professional to come in and not only kind of see what is needed for the organization, but also for the culture standpoint, what is our mission or what is the mission? What are the values that you want to live to? And being very thoughtful and intentional when you're going through that process, because values and kind of what it means to the organization drive everything else. And if you speak to values and hire based on that, exactly what we were talking about just a few minutes ago with regards to that passion comes in, right? That's not easy to do. It's not easy to create a culture. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen on its own. It's intentional meetings and discussions of what you want your business to be and how you want your employees to feel when they're at work. The best advice I can give is you don't want people to feel like it's work, right? We're all going to work hard. We're all going to do what we can to meet the goals that we have set forth for ourselves in the business. But it's not going to be easy. And if you have people that are passionate about the product, passionate about the company, passionate about the culture, you're going to get people that are going to be passionate about work. And it doesn't happen on its own. So having an HR partner to come in and actually drive those discussions and help kind of outline what can make sense for the business and what can work, it scales down the time significantly when you have somebody who's done it a couple of times.
I never want to call a company a family because you don't lay your family members off.
It's true.
But I think, just saying, but I
It's
think
true.
having a culture of friendship, a culture
Yes.
of partnership, a culture of support tends to be critical and shows the least amount of turnover. What would you say are also some aspects of a really great culture and maybe some signs and signals when you're interviewing if that place lives up to, what they're saying they are?
I think one of the biggest things is leading by example. Like if you're not living the values that you set for the organization, that's a red flag. And so people need to feel that they are being that they are kind of aligned to the organization and aligned to the values, and that they're contributing in a positive way. And so sometimes if you're not careful, it can get away from you if you're not focused on what is needed, because the business is the business, and it's going to run. It's right. It doesn't slow down for anybody. And sometimes culture can sit on the back burner, and people can feel left out. And that's when the miscommunication happens, or when things aren't being delivered that were promised. And then there's that negativity that files in. So it's really important to get it right and live it, live the values, live the mission, and lead by example.
Adriana DeCarlo, any other things to chime in on?
Yeah, maybe if Adriana Garza, what does it look like working with you for these startups who have never had any HR infrastructure before? What can they expect from somebody coming in and, revamping their processes?
They can expect a ton of questions, a lot of collaboration, a lot of discussions, good discussions, and they can expect turnaround time of, very quick turnaround time, and follow up, right? So that's key. Like you can talk it, you can set it in place, but for me, I'm not going to walk away until I know it's working. I'm not going to walk away until I know that it is successful. So they can expect me to be dialed in, 100% transparent, and locked in, if you will, to the organization, and making sure that they reach the potential and the goals that they want to as an organization.
And how long would you say that building out those processes and infrastructure takes?
It depends. That's a great question. It depends. So if it's something like if the mission and values, that could take anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 to 4 weeks, if not longer. It depends on who's involved, what the target goal is, and kind of what the discussions look like, and then availability, all of that. I think it when you're talking about like an employee handbook, that can be turned around in a matter of days, right? It just depends on kind of what the client wants or what their focal point is. But there's not one answer of how long it would take. It could take it. I work very, very quickly, but again, I work quickly, but with intention. And I want to make sure that people understand and that I'm bringing them along with me. So, again, it takes as long as it takes for people to get it. I'm not going to ever walk away from somebody that's confused or doesn't have all of the tools in their toolkit that they need before I step back.
It's a great answer. I can see why Storj and Hulu and Disney had you, because I just think you've made such an impact in so many organizations. Do you think HR has an impact on a company's trajectory?
I think so. I think happy employees are productive employees, right? Now, I am not naive. I know that we're not going to always be able to make everybody happy. It's a business. We have to run as a business, or the company has to run as a business. But at the end of the day, if you put little things in place from an engagement and recognition standpoint, policies, structures, so that people aren't confused, or they understand what their role is, they know how they contribute, I think they are more productive in the long run. And not having that in place can cause, again, a lot of disconnection. People can feel like if they don't have a beacon to go toward. And so having an HR infrastructure and an HR person in place to kind of develop that will help the organization kind of maintain consistency and fairness and overall good company health, if you will.
I mean, good company health starts with a culture, right? If you don't
Yes,
like where you work, you're not going to want to work there.
that's right.
Okay, so I know we're running out of time. And I can't wait to do this again, but I wanted to ask a couple quick questions. So,
Mhm.
what HR metrics should founders actually track from day one?
That is a great question. HR analytics are very, very important. The first and foremost should be attrition, or retention, same thing, whether it's voluntary, involuntary. So the reason why you want to check that is if it's voluntary, that means people want to leave you. That means they're leaving for a reason. And it's important to find out why. So that you can narrow down the root cause of maybe it's a process or a procedure or a pay issue, whatever it is. Attrition data is important. On the talent acquisition side, time to fill speeds are very, very important, especially if you're moving quickly. People don't have a lot of time to sit and wait. So if you know kind of what the data shows you with regards to time to fill, you can go in with a reasonable expectation, knowing that. The third, I would say, is engagement scores, and compensation metrics, or compensation data like benchmarks. Those two areas are really critical because on the engagement side, you want to know if your employees are dialed in. If they're not, then maybe you need to focus on areas that will bring them back. Or maybe there are areas that you're not as strong in that an HR person can help kind of create an action plan around that. But if you don't understand the scoring, all of these metrics tell you or show you a picture of what you need to do from a strategic standpoint. If you don't lean into that, then good or bad data in is bad data out, right? So we always have to make sure that you're on top of those numbers to make sure that you're focusing on the right things with the employees or for the employees.
For the employees is incredible, right? As a founder,
Yes.
as HR, we are here for our people. There was a saying, I forget it off the top of my head. It's probably the Dayquil talking, but as a founder or a leader, you work for your team. Your team doesn't work for you, you work for your team. You have to set them up for success. You've got to, I mean, am I incorrect? Please correct me
Yep.
if I'm wrong. Okay.
You're correct.
That's what I've always thought and how we've treated our internal team specifically. We start every morning, what can I do for you? What can we do as a team to make everybody's life easier? Anybody in the chat, if you have any other questions, let us know. We're happy to help. We're going to wrap up here in a couple minutes, but don't worry, we'll be back. Adriana DiCarlo, did you have any other questions for Adriana Garza?
I feel like this is a good intro session. I don't want to get too in depth. I know we're running out of time here. I feel like my questions are answered.
Beautiful. Ms. Garza, would you like to leave us with anything or any tips, tricks until next time?
I think setting the tone is really, really important when you're working with organizations, especially if you don't have an HR professional. And whatever you can do to bring in some structure and proof that you're really working for the employees will 100% get them motivated and passionate to work for you. And so if there is anything that I can do for anybody, any questions, anything that anybody needs any help with, I am happy to jump in and do that. I think we're going to share contact information. I'm not sure, Emily, but I'll leave that to you. But just know that you're not alone. There is help if you need it. And there are people that are willing to jump in and really help guide anything that you need from an organizational standpoint.
Wonderful. Well, Adriana Garza, fabulous introduction. Thank you so much for joining us. We're thrilled to have you. Adriana DiCarlo, congratulations on your debut. So happy for you to be here. Everybody, we will see you next week. Don't forget about, what day is it? It's Tuesday. Don't forget about Blockchain Brunch tomorrow. We will see you at 10:30 Central, 11:30 Eastern. Ladies, hang on with me while we end the stream. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.